Hello everyone, this is John again, and Kia is finally selling their electric vehicles in the Midwest of the United States. It's been a couple years since they first came out, but now I actually was able to drive one thanks to the McGrath Kia dealership in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They have two in inventory and they let me borrow the one that they have on the lot. It's a top-of-the-line Kia EV. So I'm going to be able to take it out for a drive, see how it works, and hopefully provide some useful information to everybody who's kind of interested in what they're like. The engine bay, because this is a body shared by the hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and the EV, is laid out like it was a regular vehicle. You have the 12-volt battery up front, which is nice because it used to be in the back on the plug-in hybrid, and so that way you don't lose as much. You have the engine and engine electronics. This is a regular electric motor. It's not the axial induction motor that you have on the hybrid and plug-in hybrid, so it's more efficient and provides more power. You have the generators and the basic set of electronics that you would expect to see. The nice thing about this is that you now have a heat pump for the air conditioning and heater, so you don't need to have a resistive element to heat the car in the wintertime. Hopefully it has a resistive element so that when it gets very, very cold, like it tends to get in the upper Midwest, you can still have heat relatively efficiently, but when it's warmer, it will not be nearly as expensive as it would otherwise. The charge port for the EV has moved from the side to the front, so you have your normal level 2 charger and then the additional piece for the DC fast charger. This is a 7.2 kilowatt charger, so it charges a lot faster, and the door is also lockable, so if you have the car locked, nobody can open the door and access those charge points. As you'd expect, the back of the Niro is exactly the same as the other ones because it shares the same body. The floor is about the same height. You have speakers here. You also have this bump out that you have on the plug-in hybrid, so it isn't quite as roomy as it is in the regular Niro. There is underfloor storage. There's a little bit of room for your charge port. Also, if you notice, there is a little cavity here and cavity there so that you can actually use it to store the cover that goes back here, which is a nice little addition that's not available in the other hybrids. If I lift up the floor as well, and take out the insert, you see that there is actually enough room in here because they moved the battery underneath for you to put in a spare, and that is nice to have. It would be nice if it was an option that I could have installed with the car, but by default you wind up with the tire inflator kit. If you have seen earlier pictures of the Niro for like the 2019 model year, you would have seen about an inch lip that comes down underneath the main chassis. That was where the battery pack extended to, and the body has been redesigned so that the battery pack completely fits underneath the car within the trim. What that means is that you have a little bit more height in the car. So the clearance has been reduced by about 4 millimeters, and the height has been raised by about 3 centimeters. So you do sit up a bit higher, which is kind of nice. One thing about the Niro, and this is all Niros, is the spoiler here. It comes down to give you a bit more aerodynamics, but what that means is if you go to an automatic car wash, this is about as far down on the window as you can go with the wash, so you'll have a line of dirt right about here. That's no big deal. It just means you have to come up underneath with a cloth and clean along there. Probably something that can get up because that goes up there quite a ways. As you can see, it's a little bit dirty up there. If you have the normal squeegee you have at a gas station, it still won't get up in there, so you will have to have a soft cloth of some kind so that you can reach up, clean up in there, and you'll need to do that every time you wash the car. It's just the nature of the beast. all sport utility like cars are getting this for aerodynamics, and all of them will have that problem. The map is basically the same map they've had for quite a while. There is an addition that right here, it shows you your current speed. So if you're in a speed zone, you can see your current speed, and then you can see the speed of the road you're on. So you can tell how much above or below the speed that you're going. I have right now the center console set up so that when I'm in CarPlay mode, I have the CarPlay screen and then a shared screen. I can change that. If you go to the setup screen, you can go to the device connection screen and Android Auto and CarPlay screens. If you notice, there's this use split screen in Apple CarPlay. It's also there for Android Auto. By default, it is not enabled. So what that means is that CarPlay will take the entire screen. So when I plug it in, I hit Media, and CarPlay is now taking the full screen. I have to unplug my phone in order for it to toggle in and out of that mode. So if I go back to Setup, disconnect my phone, go back to Devices, Apple CarPlay, use split screen, replug the phone in, hit the Media button, and there. So now I can have battery information, I can have clock, I can have compass direction, I can even have a little bit of the map over there, and it gives me a bit more information that I'd like to see while I'm driving. The environmental controls are right here, and this is only a single zone system. So in the plug-in hybrid we have a button here, and then sync is over here and so forth. But this is all set up for one environment. You have your fan speed, the vent or recirculation. You have turn on heat, turn on air conditioning, rear defrost, front defrost, auto temperature or increase, decrease temperature, and then you can cycle through your various modes of the climate control. So I can go and turn on the heat, turn off the air conditioning. Not quite sure why heat and air conditioning can be on at the same time, but I haven't really looked at the manuals. Something that I would never use. Either the climate control button will pop out. It will show you how you have the climate control set up. I can increase the fan speed. I can adjust the temperature. If I push the auto button, then what happens is it'll automatically adjust the fan speed and the temperature to be whatever it thinks that I want. And then I can just adjust the fan and it will be more to what my liking is. The cubby is what everybody's is shown before. You push here, it slides back. You then have a reasonably sized compartment. This first spot for a cup is deeper than the second spot. Push the buttons, they come out. So knowing that one is deeper than the other is kind of important if you have two drinks and you would have put them both in here and close the top, because you may not be able to based on what kind of drink you have. There's also a compartment for more storage. Not a whole lot of room in there, but it is covered with a soft touch leatherette covering. There is a Qi charger mat right here that will hold your phone. You're not going to be interfacing with the phone anyway. You're probably going to have Android Auto or CarPlay when you're using it. So the fact that it's up and in there is not a problem, except that it's going to be kind of easy to forget that it's there. I was used to, in my plug-in hybrid, having it stuck in one of the cup holders. And I can do that here, except then this is going to catch a lot of junk. So if I use the Qi charger, I'm most likely going to forget that I have my phone in the car. I'll have to come back out and pick it up. I have a case in here, but I also use a holster case, so I can't put everything in there. I just have to put the phone itself in. The control console has been moved down here, as you've probably seen in other videos on the KIA EV. You have the heater, seat cooler, auto hold, parking brake, passenger side heater cooler, steering wheel heat, parking assist, and drive mode. Now, drive mode you can cycle between eco, normal, and sport. And when you do so, you will see the screen updated with eco, normal, and sport. It is also reflected on the instrument panel, the speedometer. For the drive modes, there you have a normal mode, and you have settings for the normal mode. The climate control is in eco. The coast and regeneration is set to level 2. You can set the climate control to normal, and that will basically allow the heater and air conditioner to either heat the cabin or cool the cabin more, and that of course will reduce the range that you get. The regeneration levels are selectable from the paddles, and they're levels 1, 2, and 3. There's actually an off. That is what you'd expect if you had like a hybrid or something. Level 1 is pretty minimal. Level 3 is very aggressive, but it will not stop the car. It'll just take it down to be very, very slow. When you start the car, I have the car set up in eco mode. So what that means is when I start the car, it will start off in regen level 3. So if I would prefer to have it start up in regen level 1, I have to come in here, set the regen level, and then when I got in the car, turned it on, it would start up in regen level 1. Fortunately for me, even though I only have a 120 volt charger at home, the McGrath has a Chevy dealership who's been selling EVs for a few years, and they have a rather small 22 kilowatt DC fast charger. So I've been able to pull in here, plug in, charge. Nice thing also is it's free. Between tests, I can just come up here, plug it in, charge it up to a reasonable amount, usually 80%, because going from 80 to 100% takes a lot longer than just going to 80%. And then I can go off and continue doing my work. If I were to have an EV, I would definitely have a level 2 charger in my garage. 38 hours to go from 40% to full, so it would be 2 days to probably at least to go from 10% or 20% to full. If my travels were short, like 10, 20 miles a day, I could probably plug in at the end of the day and have it charged for the next morning without any problem. It's just if I was doing 50 miles a day, I wouldn't have enough time to charge the battery pack to a state where I wouldn't lose distance at the end of each day. One thing I discovered while driving around town is that the auto regen will engage if you are approaching a stopped vehicle or are approaching a moving vehicle too fast. It looks like this uses the same software and hardware as the radar adaptive cruise. So as I approach a car, it can detect that the range is changing at the rate of my travel or at some delta from that, and apply the regenerative braking more aggressively. Surprisingly, this also was able to detect a motorcycle in front of me as well as a truck pulling a trailer, and I figured pulling a trailer would be the more difficult scenario. What will happen is the battery icon on the left hand side of the screen will go from white to cyan, and then you will see the regeneration arrows appear on there. When I got out my ODB2 reader, I was able to take a look at the battery state of charge, what is reported by the battery management system versus what is shown on the display. At the lower percentages, like the example here, which is about 40%, it was off by about 1%. But the higher the battery charge was, the larger the deviation was. So at 80%, it was about 2.5 percentage points. I have a short playlist that I've put together that I use to test out stereos and speakers. So I played that on the Niro EV and found that the stereo is a little bit more bass than I really am used to, and the treble was okay, mids were fine. While I was doing my driving test, one of the songs in my regular playlist came on, and it seemed to have a very high hissy sound that I thought was a problem with the stereo, until I listened to it again with my headphones and noticed that yes, it does have that high airy sound that was being picked up pretty well by the stereo system. That is one thing that kind of surprised me. I have added the song Hush by Everglow to my playlist so that I can use that to test out the highs as well as the lows in stereo systems. It may be because of the fact that there is no engine noise, but the interior of the Niro EV seems to pick up a little bit of road noise. If the wind is not that strong today, it's gusting at about 11 miles an hour, but I did notice that there was a bit of wind noise at the windows, and the road noise from the wheels is pretty pronounced. It's not excessive, but it may bother some people. With normal roads, the volume level inside the cabin is about 65 decibels, which isn't too bad. But if you're on the wrong kind of driving surface, fresh asphalt, fresh concrete, both are fine. But if you have patched concrete, and some of the roads around here have quite a few patches on them, then there is a bit of noise as you transition across those patches. Also, if you have texturized roads, so some of the roads around here have grooves cut in them to help get the rain off, and if those are too deep, if they are too jagged, then you will notice a lot more road noise. As I do with my plug-in hybrid and hybrid test, I do a city loop and a highway loop that helps me get an idea as to how efficient the electric motor is or the engine is in general. With the Niro EV, the efficiency was very, very good. I had 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour or 7.7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, and I didn't think that was too bad. I stopped my test when I got down about what the normal discharge is on the plug-in hybrid, and unfortunately the efficiency provided by the EV does not include the power used for air conditioning, for stereo system, and things like that. I checked the battery usage with the car parked, air conditioning going, stereo being played like normal. The background burn rate of the battery was 0.71 kilowatts. Add that to the 1.49 hours that I spent with the electric car on, that would have given me an extra 6 or 7 miles of range, or between 9 and 10 kilometers of range. The highway driving test was about a 45-mile north-south trip, so that way any wind that I'm experiencing will even itself out. In this case, I had 11-mile wind from the north, and as I was traveling north, my efficiency was about 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. On the way south, it was able to come back up to about 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. So even a minor wind of 11 miles an hour does make a significant difference on the battery usage. Once again, I'd like to thank the McGrath Kia dealership for giving me the opportunity to drive this Niro EV over the weekend.